So welcome everybody to this week's masterclass. I will be your host, and today we're going to be talking about 2025 and who are going to be buying and selling in 2025. Now, let's talk about who is not going to be buying in 2025 or who's not going to be selling in 2025. You've got the people that are mostly opportunistic buyers and sellers, right? The people that say, "Hey, gosh, I've been in my home for 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10+ years, and I really would love to be able to, instead of having to do renovations to my own property, I'd love to just sell as is and move to another home," right? Bigger, better, whatever, it doesn't matter, but just moving because they just want to change. Those people are not going to be moving in 2025 because the rates are still high, right? Even though they are projected to come down into the low sixes sometime throughout the next year, they're still high. And because of that, they're not going to be willing to give up their 3.5% interest rate or 3% interest rate, whatever they have right now. And then when they actually think about doing it and they look at plug in the numbers of what that payment's going to be, it's like more than double of what they're looking to be paying. And they're going to tap out and say, no, thanks. The people that are investors, right? The investors that would normally put down 25% and cash flow on a property, those people are not cash flowing right now, right? At the higher interest rates, like I was quoted 8% for a loan. I've got phenomenal credit, 8% for investment property. Doesn't cash flow, right? Just doesn't make any sense unless you're putting more than 50% down. Now, if you've got cash buyers, great, right? But if you've got a regular buyer that's putting 25, 30% down, they're not going to cash flow. And again, that buyer pool is going to shrink. I'm not saying it's going to be zero, but the buyers that are in that group of investor buyers are not going to be buying next year. So let's talk about who is going to be buying, right? We've talked about this in the past. It's the life or people that have life events that take place. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to talk about the 5 life events that will cause a move to take place. And I hope that every single one of you, like, this isn't new, right? Like, real estate's not new. The things we talk about in our master classes are not new. They're things that we should be doing that we're not doing, and hope that these classes that we have remind you to say, oh yeah, dang it, I should do a better job of doing this. Or if you're not doing it, then holy crap, I'm missing out on an opportunity. I need to do this so I can get better. Does that make sense? Because 2025, again, on a phenomenal year, you'll have 5 to 5.2 million homes transact every single, in a good year. When the years that are crappy, it'll go down to the 3.8, 3.9 to 4 million transactions that take place. That's a big gap. That's 2 million commission checks that are not going to be had. And guess what? The amount of agents that are still out there, they're still there, right? Some of them may have gone, but they're still there. They still have their licenses. There's about 1.5 million agents. And so if you get 1.5 million agents and you divide that by 4 million compared to divided by 5 million, it's a big spread. And so because of that, every single agent has to really be very intentional with how much market share they want. And so they get their unfair advantage or unfair share of the transactions that are there. Because guess what? If you divide that number, who can do that real quick for me? Or I guess I can as well. So let's see, if we get 5 million divided by 1.5 million, that's 3.3 transactions a year per agent, if you were to just divide it that way. But if you get 4 million divided by 1.5 million, that's 2.6 transactions. So it's virtually 1 transaction less per agent, which might not seem like a lot, but it is, right? Every transaction is important. And those that say, hey, Nazar, I can't live off of 3 transactions a year. Well, yeah, most agents can't, but there's lots of them that don't do any transactions for the whole year or even 6 months. And so if you're an agent that has some lofty goals for 2025, you got to listen up, because this is what's going to make or break you. Because if you are not targeting your audience, if you are not targeting your messaging on social media, on any advertising you do, mailers, print media, I don't care how you advertise, if you are not specifically speaking to these 5 groups of people that we're going to be talking about today, then you're going to have a really, really bad year in 2025. Okay. So I appreciate you guys turning your cameras on, and I appreciate you being on here. So let's talk about this. The very first one, which is pretty obvious, is people that get married and people that get divorced. Okay, I'm gonna write this thing down for you. So how do we reach out to them, right? Like, first of all, it's the professional networking groups that we want to be part of. Think of a group of people that we don't really connect with, and we don't have a system in place, but you should create one, is the wedding planners, right? Why are wedding planners good people to connect with and build a relationship with? Why is that? Someone unmute yourself and just say something, or put in the comments, something.
Because they know who's getting married, so they know who's going to be on the move.
Yes, and the cool thing is wedding planners don't find out about the wedding the day before or a week before, do they? When do they find out?
It's long term to do that. I mean, it's either a year before, if you're like really short term, it's either 6 to 9 months, but you know ahead of time. And let alone when you're talking to them, not only that, with their family, that's when you start getting a little bit more info. You get a little bit more feel for, what's going on in the relationship and if it's going to actually last.
That's right. So anything from low end 4 months to high end a year plus, these people know in advance when someone's going to get married. And the cool thing about that is that they know their budget, right? Are they planning a wedding for $2,000 or are they planning a wedding for $100,000? And also they know if those people are going to be selling properties that they own each individually and buying a property together, or if they're a younger couple and they're buying a property for the first time together, or if they're not buying anything, they're just going to be renting because they're small little, like super poor people, right? And maybe that came off wrong, but you know what I mean? They'll know if they're going to be buying property or not. So how many in this group have a network of wedding planners that you connect with? I thought, oh, okay, maybe 2 of them. Okay, fantastic. Well, that's good to hear. Most don't. And so here's an opportunity for you to think about, okay, how can I network with people that are going to be working with people that are going to transact in 25? Wedding planners, divorce attorneys, right? How many people have divorce attorneys that you network with? These people should be people that you are connecting with. That's awesome, Don. People that you are connecting with, that you have a relationship with, that when they are looking and talking to people who are getting divorces, that you are able to make that connection. Sometimes divorce attorneys don't want to get involved. They don't, they want to play Switzerland. They don't want to make any recommendations, but some of them do. And if you give enough value to them to then give to their clients, then guess what? You can make that introduction. Same thing with the divorces, right? Sometimes divorces, depending on what state you live in, can happen as short as 1 week, or it can go as long as a year or 2 years. It's a long-term play. And so the more connections you make with those divorce attorneys, right? The more, if you can provide some type of a packet information, either digitally or in person, give to them so that when they meet with their clients, they can give them something, right? You should have that information to them. Second thing, legal filings, right? When people get divorced, they file, it becomes public knowledge, right? That's data that you can buy from the county. You can have other sources that can give you that information, but you can get that information. And when you do, you can start mailing to them, right? You can circle prospect to them. Obviously, you want to be sensitive to what type of message you give to them. But I promise you that if you do it consistently, and that becomes a part of your process of dealing with business, that you're going to get people that want to transact. You guys, most of your goals are to sell between 10 to 30 houses a year, right? And if you build these relationships with these people that have to sell, have to buy, and most of the time it's going to be a twofer, right? It's going to be, you could potentially help predicate upon, how the divorce is. You can help 2 people sell 1 house together and buy 2 different properties, right? Especially if you've got a team that you work with, so that sometimes one spouse or the other doesn't want to work with you on the buy side. But if you have a team, you're like, hey, we work as a group. This person is dedicated to you as the person that's, like this is your realtor, this is my realtor, and it becomes easily, copacetic, and so you can help them both transact after the transaction of selling their property is done. Marriage licenses as well, right? People qualify for marriage licenses. You can get those lists and you can start mailing to them, because people may get married now, but not actually buy a property for a year, right? They want to see how things go. And so getting that database, mailing to them, calling them is absolutely super, super important. And then targeted media ads, right? You can advertise on specifically Facebook for those types of groups of people. You can make videos that are specific. You can post it on YouTube. That could be long-term or long-form content, right? You can make a video about 10 minutes long, say, hey, what are the pros and cons, or what happens when you sell your house in a divorce? You can talk about, what happens with the money. You can talk about capital gains tax and the implications there. You can talk about, the options that they have. Do you buy out your partner? Do you keep the house? Do you just sell it and liquidate your assets? If you do, what are the consequences to that? Like you can make a long 10-minute video, 20-minute video explaining all that in great detail. And then you can either get that and then slice it up into 60-second segments and put that on social media. You can get that video or make another video that just talks about the video that you're going to be making or that you made that's on YouTube. And you can make that into an ad and you can advertise to people that are getting divorced. You guys, there's so many different ways to be able to get that group of people and connect with them. And listen, it's all about intentionality. Because if you just say, hey, I'm a great realtor, that's awesome. And if you say, hey, if you want to look at buy or sell real estate, that's great. But if you can make a message that's targeted, tailored to the person that's moving or the person that is getting married, or the person that's getting divorced, that's a huge way for you to be able to connect with them. You guys hear me? I see Tessa completely ignoring what I'm saying right now. She's double tasking, which really doesn't make any, no one can do two things at once, right? And she's pretending she's listening, but she's not. Shut up, you're not really taking notes, Tessa. Listen, like this is a gold mine that if you guys are not doing, you're going to miss out on 25. Now, obviously, this is something that happens independently of what the market's doing. Fair? But this is a group of people that independent of what the market's doing is going to sell, is going to buy. They have to. You guys hear me? Do I have your commitment that you're going to include some level of this in your business plan for 25? Some of you, that's great. Okay, let's move on. Birthing a child, having a baby. Speaking of Tessa, she already is like, we don't have enough room for all the toys. We need more space. We want a bigger home. So at some point in time, she's going to have to buy another house. And therefore she might have to either sell her home or turn the house into a rental. Like I don't know what her plans are, but that's going to happen. Right. And so like knowing how to partner up with people like pediatricians, right? OB-GYN doctors, theoretically, boutique baby stores, right? Babies R Us is gone, it's out of business, but there's other stores that sell baby products, right? Like connecting with them, building relationships with the store owners and, having some way to be able to connect with those types of groups of people is super, super important. Like leaving your business cards, brochures, maybe a checklist of things that, a prospective new mother needs just to give them some level of value and being able to capture their information so you can start dripping on them and connecting with them and following up with them. Running online campaigns, right? Both through Google and social media is a great way to be able to talk to those groups of people that just had kids. Now, it could be a first-time mom, or it could be a person that has had or is having their second or third or fourth or whatever kid, right? It doesn't matter. As long as they have another child, that can cause room for them to say, hey, you know what? I don't think the space that we're in right now is working. We need to make a change. We need to make a move. And that's when you can connect with them. And again, that type of buyer is going to also be a buyer that also needs to potentially sell, right? If they own a property. And so these transactions that we're talking about, a lot of them are twofers. A lot of them are, one or two or three transactions could happen just by one life event that took place. I think that it's really, really important that when you are talking to that group, that you are giving them value aside from just saying, hey, do you want to buy a house? Right? So having video content that says, here are the top 5 things that you should avoid when you're making a move and buying a home that's larger. Or when you're upsizing your home, here are the pros and cons, or here are the things to look out for. Here are the red flags to avoid. Here's the process of what it looks like to be a contingent seller, right? If you need more room, here's what you can do. Like those types of videos that are done in a long format setting that's housed on YouTube, and then you get social media, that's a 30 to second or 30 to 60, 90-second video that gets people to watch your long form content, because you really can't explain all the intricacies of those types of details within a 60-second video. It just doesn't make any sense, right? But you can get them intrigued on social media to then draw them back to YouTube. What's cool about YouTube videos, you guys, is that has a shelf life that is indefinite, doesn't die, right? If it's good content, if you put good keywords, if you have a good tagline and you have good thumbnails, that is going to live for a long time. You might have a video that gets, 1,000 views or 200 views initially or 100 views initially, but then in a year or two, it just blows up because, like YouTube says or Google says, this is really good content that people are looking into or watching. The longer that video is, the more content you can give, the more detail you can give. And someone that watches the whole freaking thing, guess what? that you become you become the expert in that field. Does that make sense? Okay. Let's move on to the third one here. Relocation. You guys, people are always relocating because of their job, right? Moving out of state, moving into the state that you're in. Some people think, well, gosh, Nazar, no one's moving into our state. Well, guess what? If they are moving out of your state, then cool. You can get amazing referrals that way, right? You can build a relationship with people that are agents throughout the area. And, that's the easiest money that you'll ever make is by sending a referral to somebody and collecting a paycheck, right? And so connecting with people that are relocating, now you can do that by partnering with relocation specialists. A lot of big corporations have designated people that all they do is help people relocate in and out of their company. And so connecting with them, engaging on LinkedIn by posting videos on there that explain the process of relocation. Like, what are the ins and outs? What are the pitfalls to relocating? What mistakes to avoid when relocating for a job? Some companies offer relocation packages, some do not. Some offer just a specific dollar amount. Some will say you have to use this company to do this and that. And so like there's lots of nuances. If you educate yourself, because it doesn't take much to learn, right? You educate yourself and then you regurgitate that information specifically to your areas, right? If you're relocating out of Southern California, or even more specific, Orange County or Riverside County, whatever, or you're moving out of whatever, Florida, wherever you're at, right? If you're moving out of here and going here, watch this video. Then you just talk about it, right? There's nuances to each specific area and city and lots of different things that we have information for in our brains that we take for granted because we think it's just natural that people know it, but they don't, right? People don't move all the time. And so when you can help kind of break that down and make it into segments and easy for them to understand, they're going to watch that video and say, hey, you are the expert. I'm going to call you in contact with you. Okay. And then monitoring job postings, right? If you see on LinkedIn or on Monster or whatever job posting sites, Wise Hire, whatever it may be, that they are hiring, that might be a good way for you to be able to make that introduction. Say, hey, if someone is looking, because, nowadays when people are looking for talent, that talent may not be someone that lives down the street, right? They might have to hire someone that's out of the area. And so if you could help that HR department or help that person that's recruiting that person and show them a way in a simple path to get them to move from wherever to here, you can help them by getting that referral from that agent that you can help them, sell their home and then relocate to this area. You can help them buy or get into a short-term rental potentially, and then, or, again, you can talk about all the things that you're willing to do to help facilitate that employer to be able to easily facilitate that move with that new employee to their location. Okay. Any questions on job relocation? All right. Number 4 is death. I know this is it's a morbid topic, but I think it's important because people are dying all the time, right? The baby boomers are slowly dwindling away. And there's a couple things about this I wanted to talk about. One is death. One is helping them, the transition between them living on their own to now needing assisted facility or assisted living, or the middle ground would be where they sell mom and dad's house and have them sell their home and then go buy a home that either has a casita or is a larger house that could accommodate mom or dad to live with them, right? I'm sure you guys have had that experience. I have multiple times. Like, we're actually dealing with that with my in-laws right now, or my in-law, where she needs full-time care. And so they're contemplating either putting her in a home, which I think she would literally die if she had to go there, or about, moving in with a family member and getting a larger place, or like all those options are talked about. And imagine if we as agents make those types of videos, and I don't mean to be I don't mean to hash out YouTube, but I think it's important that, like, no matter where it is, that we are giving this information to them so that we can be the expert in that specific field. And so by allowing them to understand, hey, this is what could happen. And then also, obviously, going back to talking about death, when someone does pass away, obviously you can go to the obituaries and get that information there. There's lots of community outreach programs that help with people that either had a sudden death, or someone that was just older that just passed away with age or some type of health conditions that they had. And then obviously dealing with probate attorneys, right, or trust attorneys. Those people are going to step in the way, or also people that do financial planning, right? Financial planners get involved during this time because people that pass away, because, like my father-in-law passed away recently. And so my mother-in-law got a massive check from life insurance. And she's like, I don't know what to do with this. I needed to help me live, the same lifestyle that I've been living for the last however many years, for the next 20 plus years, if she lives that long. And so financial advisors are really good people to be able to connect with, because they can say, hey, you can get a portion of that money and put into these stocks, or, this portfolio. And then maybe a portion of that could be that you buy an investment property, or that they sell that home that they currently live in and make a move. You get my point. Like, having these financial professional business partners and connecting with them and giving them value, and then reciprocating, right? Giving them business and then asking for business is a great way for you to build relationships with people that are going to constantly give you business, right? There is an estate planner friend that I have, not a friend, I know an agent that has a really good friend that they build rapport with, and that lady gives this agent like probably 10 transactions a year. It's simple, it's easy. You just got to take the effort, or make the effort, to make those connections and build that over time. Okay, this is not a one-hit wonder. This is not it's easy. If it was easy, everyone would be doing it. It takes time to build these relationships, but if you do, these are relationships that will feed you for the rest of your life, or feed you for a very long time. So we talked about probate attorneys. We talked about, financial advisors, people that die. Again, tracking obituaries is another way to be able to connect with them. Again, we can mail to them. We can do like social media campaigns specifically to them, or you can just go to their house, right? Now, again, it's a sensitive topic. Some people don't want to talk to you. Some people think it's very insensitive, and I don't necessarily think that being an ambulance chaser necessarily is a, negative thing. I think if you do it tactfully, people could have, like, especially if you go there and say, hey, do you want to sell your house? Like, that's just annoying. But if you go there and give them advice, you give them information, right? You give them something, like a packet, something they can look through. You can say, hey, so you've passed away. Here are the top 3 financial advisors in the area. Here are the top 3 probate attorneys. Here are top 3 whatever. Like, give them information of things that they are going to need right now. Right? They're going to need to close down bank accounts. They're going to need to open up new bank accounts. They're going to need to know trusts, and if that is something that they have, or deal with probate attorneys if that's the route they need to go. There's lots of different things that they don't know what they don't know. And if you can give them that list, and guess what? You guys can go to ChatGPT and say, hey, what's a list of things that when someone passes away, you should know? And you can get that list to them, right? A checkbox type of a list, and go hand it to them. Like, it's, when you think of it coming from a place of contribution, a place of giving, then naturally you don't even have to ask for the business, because when they're ready, they know they know that you're a realtor. They'll say, hey, you know what? We actually need to also sell this house, and you could be that person. And if it's not that moment, it could be a year later or 2 years later, or whatever it is. Like, they will work with you as you continue to build those relationships with them. Okay, the 5th one is retirement. This goes back into some of the other things we talked about, but that's okay, because it's a little bit, different nuances, right? The easiest thing to do with retirement is host seminars. If you are in an area where there's lots of people that are, a little bit more senior in age and are looking to potentially retire in the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 years, this is a great way for you to be able to host a seminar. You could do this at a restaurant. You can do that at your office. You can do that wherever you want, where you're just giving them information, right? You could have people come and be the person that is the expert in a specific category, or you yourself can do the whole thing. It's entirely up to you. If you do that consistently once a quarter, I think it's a really good way to be able to connect with people that are looking to retire. Older generation might be a little bit more analytical, but if you give them food and give them something for free, they might show up. And again, it's all about building relationships with individuals. And then hopefully when they do retire, you are the go-to person that they look to hire when they go to sell their property. Okay. 2, financial planners at that point in time are also really good resources for not only people that passed away, but also people that are looking to retire. Who has financial advisors that you network with? 2 people. Cool. So you guys, like, this is a good opportunity for you to freaking find out who those people are, take them out to lunch, like, pick their brain. Maybe you might not ask for their business the very first time you meet with them, right? Maybe you give them value. Maybe you can say, how can I support you? What are some things that you hate about referring business to agents? What are you looking for in an agent that you want to refer business to? Because sometimes the agent that they refer might work against them, because what that financial advisor wants to do is get their money to be able to invest, right? And if you're saying, oh no, don't do that, buy another investment property, like that might go against what they want you to say. And so obviously you don't want to do what's wrong, but you want to be in sync with them so that you guys are both on the same page, and ultimately, hopefully, having, the client's best interest at heart, but working together so that you guys are on the same page. I think that's super, super critical. And then leveraging direct mail, right? People that are retiring. This is a good, easy way that some states are easier than others to be able to get that information from title companies and such. But if not, there's other resources that have that available to you. If you pay some type of a fee, you can get that information. You can mail to them. Older people that are retiring, check their mail still, right? They might not be active on social media, but they're checking their mail. And if you are consistent at mailing to them, right? Think about farming, right? If you've got a farm, you can be mailing a whole bunch of letters to people that are just like, well, I'm not going to sell right now. But if you say, hey, out of this 10,000 people that live here, there's 1,000 people that are in this age group that they might retire soon. It'd be a lot more conducive to mail like a nice letter envelope to them than it would. And I used to have them, I don't anymore, but just even getting like a manila folder and putting information there about retirement and the pros and cons of selling, all those types of things, and like handwriting their name, putting a nice little, like a forever stamp on it, or two, depending on how much this is. They're gonna open it. They're gonna check it. It's not gonna be thrown away, especially if you like put some magnets in there with information on there. Like, you guys be intentional in 2025. Imagine if you got these 5 groups and you had a plan for each one of these groups and you did this, you would do more business in 2025 than you've ever done before. Again, I'm going to remind you that the buyers that are the opportunistic buyers, the people that say, hey, I would love to be able to make this move because I want to get rid of this house. I just want to move just because I want to move. They're not buying. They're not selling this next year. Some of them are, but majority of them are not. They're going to wait on the sidelines, right? But these people that we talked about, those 5 groups of people, they're going to sell. They're going to buy. It's inevitable. And if every single one of you as an agent that's here listening to my voice, if you can be intentional with your messaging and talk to them, then I guarantee that you're going to have your best year. At the very least, you're going to do more transactions than you would have otherwise done because you're getting to know these people. And a lot of the things we talked about are things or are connections that you'll make that will pay out in dividends moving forward. Anyone have any questions? We've got a couple minutes before we finish today. Questions, thoughts?
Well, I have a lot of these connections. And so I can't believe that I haven't even thought about it, because I used to do PR work for financial individuals. And I'm just like surprised at myself that I've tapped into it, but not really as much as I could, because really those people could be giving me my next paycheck, going on. So that was really helpful. But I wanted to add a quick thing on the divorce thing. I get with the divorce attorneys, but I was a paralegal as well in my past life. So if you can connect with a paralegal or a legal secretary, they will give you all the lowdown necessary. And those are the people that you really need to, as well as a connection there.
I love it, Sandy. Thanks for that feedback. Like, one thing that I think it's important is that we become a resource and not a salesperson, right? Taking off the salesperson hat and becoming the resource to provide these people that need information. Because, you can Google something and there's so much, right? But if you become that source that in that specific niche, it can go a long way. And even like having your social media content, sometimes, some people might say, gosh, I'm going to create a separate social media Instagram page or account that's just for this group, right? I want to be the end all be all for all people that are getting a divorce, or end all be all for people that are getting married, or end all be all for any one of these 5 groups that we talked about, right? And so every single one of your content is all talking to that group only. And guess what happens when you do that? The algorithms will acknowledge that the people that are watching your videos are that age group or that demographic. And therefore they'll start spitting it out to more people that are in that situation. I'm sure that if I got every single one of your phones right now and went to Instagram and saw your reels, some of them might be scary, but most of your reels are going to be pretty consistently the same, isn't it? Right? If I go to your search, most of those search, like that little icon, the magnifying glass, a lot of the stuff's gonna be very similar to one another. Or there might be like 2 to 3 different categories of types of videos, right? You might see a whole bunch of cat videos, or you might see, like whatever, bodybuilders, or whatever you're into is gonna be there. And so the algorithm will work for you if you're intentional and your videos are not just everywhere, right? And so don't be afraid to create secondary or tertiary Instagram accounts, Facebook accounts that talk specifically to that group. Okay. All right. Any other thoughts or questions?
So going a little deeper on the older generation, right? She's got her stuff out there.
John, I'm just gonna mute you right now. I don't know if you and Tammy are both in the same space or whatever it is, but I can't hear you. I muted you until you figure that out. But he is older. I don't know if he was talking about himself or all right. I think he's figuring that out. There they are. All right, John, you want to unmute yourself and see if that helps.
Okay, sorry about that.
Oh, still going.
Okay, sorry about all that. So what I was saying is if you could get with attorneys that specialize in elder law, and there's not a whole lot of them, but they help, the people such as the big boomers and people my age and older protect their assets for down the line, help them, know what to do with their assets and how to set up trusts and things like that. And those would be really good to have come in and do some seminars as well.
Yep, absolutely. And again, it could be a seminar where you have it in person. It could also be where you just interview them, right? And just post it on social, or post it on, make a long-term content and put that on there. So like there's lots of different ways that you can build those relationships and give them business by co-sponsoring, either an ad or co-sponsoring more visibility for them and for you, because then it becomes, like information that you guys can both benefit from. So absolutely, I think that's fantastic. And you guys, there's so many people that attack or try to take advantage of elderly people, right? Because they don't know what they don't know. And so if you've got a good heart and you're not a person that takes advantage of people, then share your knowledge, help them. Because there's so many scams out there. Like it just, sometimes financial advisors they're crooks. And it's just kind of, you got to make sure that you're doing business with people that you feel like you can trust, so that, like they don't tarnish your brand or your name as well if you're trying to, if you're trying to give them business. Okay. I hope that this masterclass has been useful. I hope that you guys can leave here thinking, okay, I'm going to do this. And maybe those 5 are just, it's too much for you. Maybe you could implement 1 for this next quarter, right? But just dive deep. Don't just do some superficial basic stuff. Like get deep and don't get discouraged when you hit a roadblock. Right? I've done that so many times in my career where I'm like, okay, yeah, I'm gonna, connect with attorneys, and then I'll make 1 phone call and I'll get a roadblock and I'll be like, oh, that sucked, didn't work, or it's too hard. Like be tenacious about your desire and your drive to make those connections. Because the more you are, the more you're gonna break through. Because if you hit a wall, that's gonna block a lot of agents from going further. And if you break through or jump through that hurdle, then guess what? You'll be able to get that connection made with them. Don, did you have a comment or were we just, okay, cool. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for being on here. I appreciate.
Wait, Nazar, question.
Yes.
Okay, so if you were a newer agent and you're targeting wedding planners, divorce attorneys, whatever of those different categories, what would be like your first 3 to 5 visits to them? What would that look like?
I think that I would put together a plan first. Right? I'd create some type of either a digital or, print media that you can have as a resource for their clients. You know what I mean? So if you're talking to a wedding planner, I would say, okay, what are the top things that a wedding planner, what information can you provide them so that they can provide to their clients? Helpful information, not just self-serving information, but like helpful, things to be, mistakes to avoid and things to look out for or things to do. Like some people may not know what the process of buying because they're first-time home buyers, and you can help them create that. You can help them understand, maybe they can't buy right now, but if you set up a plan for them to be able to either pay off debt or, save money, whatever it is, or help talk about different programs that are available that can help them buy property. Like there's lots of different nuances of doing that, but as long as you can come prepared and give that information to them, that could be an easy way for you to be able to, like get them to put their guard down, if you will.
Like what would you suggest? Like what are some of the ideas that you'd suggest to go to a wedding planner friend that you have and like present information to them? Would you tell them, hey, for your newly wedded couples, like, can you give them my information or give them this packet? Like how would you go about that?
I mean, I'm just speaking off the cuff right now, but like I would say, let them know that if they introduced you to the wedding planner, or if the wedding planner introduced you and that person ended up buying a property, that you can give them, they can get $1,000 or $1,500 as a credit. I don't know, just like chat GPT it, like, like think of creative ways to build it, or talk to one of them, especially if they are a friend of yours, and say, hey, what information can I provide you that you think would be beneficial for the newlyweds or people that are trying to get married. And sometimes, if they're a little bit older, because, people nowadays are getting married older, they might have properties to sell to buy, right? So you might be able to offer them information about that. And most certainly, sometimes those types of transactions happen even before they get married. They might choose to sell their properties and buy property together, a month, a year, 6 months before they get married, or they might have already moved in together. And again, there's lots of different circumstances. So I would find out from them what they're looking for. I would check ChatGPT to see what they would find as beneficial information, and then provide that together, get it together, put it in a nice folder, present it well, and do that over and over and over again. You guys, one thing I didn't talk about, but I think it's important to do, is get these people and put them in your CRM, right? Get all of all the different, attorneys, financial planners, the event planners, whatever, right? Get them all, get their names, get their information, and put them in your database and treat them like a past client, right? Just emailing them, putting email campaigns together. Go to ChatGPT and get 12 emails put together, and then put it in a drip system to mail to them, or to email them. Mail to them, write letters to them, send thank you gift cards or thank you letters to them, or thank you note cards. Include a gift card in there. Like you can get very intentional, and trust me, this is so much cheaper than creating a farm, or so much cheaper than all the other types of advertising you can do, because once you build that relationship with them, again, you're just going to keep on getting more and more businesses. As long as you don't screw it up. Any other thoughts, questions, concerns you guys have about these have-to buyers and sellers? Okay. All right, guys. Have an amazing Thursday. I hope you have a great weekend and go out there and crush it. And if you guys have any questions, please reach out to me. Otherwise, I will talk to you guys next Thursday.